Amanda, welcome. How you doing today?
I am doing great. Very excited to be speaking with you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for being on. I came across you on LinkedIn and I see that you have an expertise in local SEO, which I find very interesting. So I thought you'd be a brilliant person to speak with today. I want to go through essentially five topics, get into a bit of your background, local SEO, SEO awareness for non-SEOs, AI and local SEO. Of course, we have to touch on AI and the SEO community at large. So if that all sounds good with you, as I like to do with my SEO guests, I like to ask them how they got into SEO. So with that said, how did you venture into this crazy industry?
Yeah, it was not intentional, like which is the case for most of us. We didn't seek out SEO. We didn't
Yeah.
even know what it was when we first got started. And same case for me. I went to college for graphic design, and then I got a job through college. Company that my one of my professors had a relationship with was looking to hire someone, and she recommended me. And I got hired to proof ads for Yellow Pages online, and they ended up getting a contract for with a GoDaddy like website host that wanted a lot of content and help with SEO for people who came on board and asked for them to build a website for them. So that was my intro into SEO, was learning with the company that I was working for what SEO was, what the
Mm,
expectations were, what content writing was, what copywriting was, all that stuff. What really my first job outside of college was
mm.
SEO. And I've been in SEO ever since. And it happened to be local SEO from the start. I mean, I started with Yellow Page ads proving. So, like, everything I've done in my professional career has been local based in some way. And it just happened that I kind of stuck with it because I fell in love with it very quickly just because of the gamification of SEO and trying and being competitive, and also like the idea of someone else on the other side being behind the scenes trying to figure out how to rank, and being opposed to them and figuring out what they're doing and what I'm doing and what I can do to best them. So all of it is just
Mm.
really fun and interesting to me.
Awesome, awesome. So I see you have a background also in web design. I'm curious. Let's say I'm a marketing manager. I've convinced the business to redesign the website and have hired a design agency. Why do I need to consider SEO at this stage?
Yeah, you need to consider SEO just because your end goal. I just immediately thought about something that I saw that someone else in the industry posted who works in local SEO too. Owner of a local SEO guide. I can't remember his name right now for some reason. I'm blanking on his name. Very well known. Andrew. I think his name is Andrew.
Mm,
But he posted that in SEO, when the client asks you about website redesign, but they haven't fixed SEO, the answer is who cares about your new website design? And that's kind of the approach that I have too, is that your SEO is more important. If you're not factoring in SEO, then why are you redesigning your site? What's your goal? If it's
mm,
branding and things like that, great. Like those things are great. But if you're ignoring your SEO for the sake of branding, then your goal is not to make more money, which is really the goal of anyone who's doing SEO for a business, is to help that business to make more money. And if
mm.
your website goal of your website redesign isn't to make more money too, then you're not aligned with what's best for your business anymore. So like that's kind of the way that I see it. It's like, you can't do a website redesign correctly without SEO. So if you're not considering the SEO as part of it, then you're starting off in a bad spot where you're going to eventually have to hire an SEO to help fix the things that weren't done correctly in the first place because they weren't considered as part of the original process. So really, that's kind of my point of view. I am someone who is very and maybe I should have prefaced this. I'm very blunt when I speak. So,
I love it.
so if anyone takes offense to me saying that I don't care about your web design, redesign if you don't consider SEO. I'm sorry, but um,
That's
it's
okay.
true. Like it has to
Frankness
be a
matters.
factor if you want
Yeah,
it to make a
yeah.
difference. Yeah.
Yep, I absolutely agree. Web design is an interesting one because usually you see brands have SEOs and web developers working together, but they still don't necessarily equate that, okay, SEOs also need to work with web designers as well. So if you're redesigning your sites, yes, you need SEO from the very beginning.
Hmm.
That's why I asked that
Yeah,
question because I,
I think about conversion rate optimization and
yeah,
usability of sites,
yeah.
especially mobile usability. And if SEO isn't part of those conversations, then you could be doing things that make sense if your goal is to make a pretty website, but not make sense if your goal is to make sure that people make a purchase or
Yeah.
contact you for a lead. So it is, to me, it does go hand in hand, thinking about web design and thinking about the true goal of the website.
Mm,
Because as a web designer, it really isn't just to make something pretty or just to make something that meets the brand guideline or the standards of the client. It's their goal still is to make money at the end of the day. So your
yeah.
design should consider that as a factor as well.
When you were focused on web design, did you find yourself also interested in SEO and or working with SEOs?
Yeah, well, what's funny is one of the positions I took, every position I've had when SEO was not the goal or focus, I made it the goal or focus at the end of it. And part of what I say about web design is because I had a position where I was working for a local t-shirt company that had four different brands and they wanted different sites for each brand. And I helped design those websites, but really everything I did, even the idea to separate it and make different websites came from SEO research and determining that that was necessary in the first
Hmm.
place, and helping and making sure that people who are searching for their types of products online could find them. And finding out that there was a lot of search volume for the types of products that they sell and convincing them that they needed these new websites and
Mm,
to design these websites for consumers. So that's really really what has driven me even when I had roles that were more web design focused is that at the end of the day I still just wanted to do SEO. It always kind of like led me back to SEO just because I liked I like that there were numbers and research and data tied to the things that I was doing, and I could prove the
mm.
value of things that I was doing. It wasn't always arbitrary, like based on how someone felt about a design. It was more so, oh, well, you're showing me that we made more money this month. There's not much you can argue with with more money for a business. So that just
Yeah.
made me fall in love with it even more when I realized that I could have a real impact on someone else's business because I've always admired business owners, someone who's willing to
Mm,
take such a chance on themselves. They're like, no, I can figure out how to do this for myself without someone else being there to to take the risk for me. I'm willing to take that risk myself, and I really
mm,
admire that. So it's always been really cool and interesting to me to be able to support people who have that vision and belief in themselves by
mm.
doing SEO.
Yeah, I got to say you made the right call with SEO. Focusing on SEO, definitely. Local SEO. I find this very interesting because nowadays there's a big push and a lot of people talk about international SEO. So it's very refreshing to see someone who focuses on local SEO. What would you say interests you about local SEO?
Yeah, part of it is the impact on business owners and being able to have that impact. Part of that is kind of like the vanity of it because with local SEO, it is a business where there is like branding, there's commercials, there's billboards. It's something that people that's tangible that you can
Yeah.
see in the real world. It doesn't just exist online.
Mm,
And that part of it is very interesting to me as well. Is like being able to attach myself to those names like oh I worked on something for a company that had impact on this thing that's tangible in my real life that I can see in
yeah.
person. To me that's really interesting um, about it in a like more like selfish way. It's like I like that part of it, but I do like the fact that I can impact an actual business that people that I know people interact with every day and say, "Hey, oh, I worked on your bank. I did SEO
Yeah,
for your bank
yeah, yeah.
or your energy company or oh, I know that like driving by and say, "Oh, this is a competitor for one of my clients." I can see their actual physical business in person. I can drive by
Yeah.
it and see it. Um all of that part of it is really interesting to me. And I also like the added complexity that local SEO has. I think a lot of times it's easy to consider local SEO just Google Maps stuff. But really, local SEO is all of it. It's Google Maps and it's technical SEO and it's the content and it's
Yeah,
all of it because
yeah.
all of it is still SEO that has to be done for that local business to rank. So
Mm,
it's not like I only do stuff related to Google Maps and reviews. I still do information architecture audits. I do still do technical audits. I still do internal linking, link building, all of those things. I just have to worry about Google Maps also, and also
mm,
consider geography as a factor. So the
mm.
way people search is different based on where they live. Just like using the word attorney versus lawyer, that's different based on where you live in the US.
Yeah.
Um, uh, just different types of services are different too. Like a potential client I've been talking to, they're a concierge doctor. So it's a doctor that has very limited clients and you pay an annual fee to have access to that doctor whenever you want. But in some regions of the US, that's normal. In other areas, that is abnormal. No one knows what you're talking about when you're saying it. But they're in both markets. So they have to figure
Mm,
out what content they need based on who they're trying to reach. Is it someone who already knows what they do and they know it very well, or is it someone who has no idea what they're talking about and they're just looking into it for the first time? So
mm.
all of these different nuances and things just makes local SEO extremely interesting to me because of all the added complexity of the geographies that come into play and culture and how people talk and how people look for businesses in
Yeah.
different areas. All of that on top of Google Maps and proximity and all and all the other ranking factors for local SEO that's specific to local too. It just
Mm,
makes it very it ties it back to the real world, I think, extremely easily when you have to
yeah.
consider who people are and how they think
Mm,
about local businesses on top of all of the SEO stuff too.
yeah. Yeah, and you used the keyword that I was going to use as well, real. It must feel so real, like doing something online and also seeing it within the real world as well, as opposed to, let's say, international SEO. And I also presume that results are, you receive results or you can show results quicker with local SEO, right?
That's a uh it depends thing because there's so many like like in some ways you can. I've had clients where there were really big companies and you would think they would have a hard time showing any growth, but they had no Google business profiles.
Mm,
So putting up 50 Google business profiles where they already could have had them made a
mm,
huge difference because
mm,
they went from having no local visibility to having a ton. And they were like already a well-known established company, so that was enough to blow them up.
yeah,
But for another business, if they already have those listings and they're just not performing well, it could take a little bit more time because it could
yeah,
be like high competition. It could be a lot of different things impacting it. But when you kind of tap into whatever is going on and you start to understand your competition on a local level, understand your client's site and their Google business profile and the people in that area better, the things that you can do can be pretty insane. Like I have a
mm,
client, I was doing their monthly report for January and their organic clicks are up 70% month over month and for
mm.
non-branded
Wow.
keywords. And
Mm.
if I told you what I did for them, you would be like, "Oh yeah, that's just what makes sense to do." I didn't do anything crazy, but those are the results that we were able to get. And that's like what I like about local SEO is when you see those big numbers pop up. Doesn't always happen, and sometimes it just happens slowly.
Mm,
Depending on all the different factors that come into play. But it is rewarding to see that growth when it happens, like when things start to finally click and things start to finally make sense. And
mm,
one of the things that's really interesting about SEO in general is just the fact that you can do all the right things and not see the results immediately.
Yeah.
And it makes you question yourself and what you're doing, and if you knew what you were doing, or if that was the right choice, or if everyone is full of it and no one knows what they're talking about. And then 3 months later, it works, and you're like, oh, there I am. Like it finally worked. It's just interesting and fun how that happens in local, because it's not just that for the organic regular search results section, but you also have that for the map section that has its own ranking factors that overlap with organic, but they're not always the same. There are things that you consider for local that you would not necessarily consider for organic, like reviews, because on if you don't have a Google business profile, you don't have reviews. So that's not a factor until you have a Google business profile. So there's things that just make it a little bit more complex. And then you have to think about your competitors too, like, I have more reviews than them, I have a higher rating than them. Organically, we're doing about the same. Why are they ranking better than me in Google Maps? And then, so that becomes an entire new thing to fixate on outside of everything else going on with that client. Is like, what things are impacting performance that I may not be aware of, and how do I account for those? So yeah, it's a little bit of added complexity, but I think, I don't know. I don't know if you get results quicker with local SEO, just because I've done primarily local SEO. I don't know any other way. So, so it may be a little bit quicker. I don't know. But I think you have more opportunities to get there quicker with local SEO, because proximity being a factor, being able to create content for nearby cities that aren't your main city if you don't rank there already. So there's just more that you can do strategically, I think, with local SEO that it could get you results. It may not be for the exact keyword or exact location you want to focus on at first, but you will get there eventually, and you can start making those stepping stones and building those relationships with Google, I think, quicker than if you're trying to rank nationally or internationally. There's so many different, it's more daunting, I think, the national, international. With local SEO, you can see all the little steps a little bit clearer. Because there's so much that you can do quickly and with small budgets, and that can have a lot of impact without having to think about it at a grand scale.
Yeah. So let's say I'm a business leader at an SME. How should I determine if local SEO is the thing that I need?
I think really the questions to ask yourself are, do I need people to show up at a location to meet me? If the answer to that is yes, then you do. Do I go out and serve people at their homes? If the answer to that is yes, then you do. Those are either one of those. And some people, for a lot of business, it's a both. Like you can come to them and they'll come to you. But even if you serve, but people can't come and meet you in person at your office, you should still have a Google business listing, because you can have a service area listing that does not show the address, but lets people know that you can come to them, and that you are a business in the area. So yeah, those are the two criteria I would look at to determine if you should be focusing on local SEO or not.
So content and pages. So let's go back to me as a marketing manager again. I love that example for some reason. Content and pages. I hear a lot of SEOs use those terms synonymously. Is content the same as a page?
Not necessarily. I think content is part of a page, but a page can have lots of different features on it that are not necessarily having content or copy as the major focus on it. I think about conversion rate optimization. So like if you're trying to get, like, you may have content on a landing page, but that content may not be the focus, especially if you're thinking about PPC or something like that. That content may be there to support getting people to take an action, and that action is really the key important thing to that page. But I consider content kind kind of its own thing, because with a lot of what I think about being a local SEO are landing pages for local SEO. So
Right.
pages that are focused on specific regions or cities or and things like that. And those pages to me have multiple purposes, and content is one of them. But I think a lot about layout and features of those pages as well, because I see them as an opportunity to get someone in and to make a decision without going into any other page on the website.
Mm.
So I do care about things like testimonials and reviews, which I guess technically are a type of content, but it's not copy that someone has to write. I think about things like rewards and accolades and things like that, recognition being added to the page. I think about contact forms, your button placement, all of those different things that aren't technically content, but need to be on the page and are extremely important for that page. But that's not, of course, to diminish the value of content at all, because like no one's going to see that page without the content. So
Yeah. With keywords on pages and keywords being incorporated into content, um, how would you suggest a client views keywords and where that fits into content and pages? The reason I ask this is because, let's say you mentioned landing pages, right, with different locations. There is this thinking that you have this keyword and you put them on the different pages, and that will give you multiple or a better chance of ranking for one of those pages. So that's improving your odds, so to speak. But I'm sure you have a lot to say around this. So how would you say a client should view keywords and the targeting of keywords?
so when I target keywords, I try to think strongly about the intent of the person who's doing the searching. So, and what they're looking for and what they expect to see on
Right.
the page. And I found that a lot of the times, especially for local clients, having a holistic view of the content that should be on the page works better than just trying to get that keyword on there as many times as possible. And that's like including community involvement, right?
Right.
It includes understanding what people are looking for, not just like, hi, I'm a plumber. I provide plumbing repair in city, state. This is like plumbing repair services for X amount of dollars. Like just like getting to the like salesy part of it, but understanding like what questions someone might have. Why would they be calling a plumber in the first place? What things can you answer for them before they even pick up the phone and call? How can you position yourself to be an expert or the best person for them to call, not just another plumber that has a page about being a plumber in that city? And thinking about all of those things and including those that on your page. It like keywords are important. Like you should try to be topically relevant, of course, but think beyond just trying to rank for the keyword, and think about the needs of the person who's doing the searching, and what information that they're looking for. One of the things that I see a lot of local businesses miss is they don't consider the location as part of their keyword, and that is part of your keyword.
Right.
If you're trying to rank in Denver and Chicago, but your Denver page doesn't mention the word Denver at all, then you're not going to rank in
Yeah.
Denver. You need to add Denver as part of it, because that is what people are searching for.
Mm.
They're searching for veterinarians in Denver. They're not, some people are searching for veterinarians, and if they're not using that modifier as a location, they're focusing on the local pack. And if you're
Mm.
not ranking, if your content is not great, you're not going to be in the local pack either. So making sure that you include your city, state, geographical information as part of your content, and consider that state or that city part of your keyword. That's extremely important. And I see a lot of businesses miss that. They go too generic with their content, almost like trying to rank nationally, and not
Mm.
and think forgetting about the um the local nature of the content that it needs to mention, where
Yeah.
you're trying to rank, and why people should be looking for you for that specific city.
Mm. Now, SEO awareness for non-SEOs is particularly interesting area for me. Essentially, this is why this I set up this podcast, because I find that SEOs, we have great knowledge of SEO as a community, but broadening it outside of SEOs is an area we still need to work on. And it's an area that's important because that's what allows us to actually implement things. And I
Mm-hmm.
find that SEO awareness, outside of the SEO community, let's say departments at a company, they require a certain level of understanding of SEO. Do you find that
Mm-hmm.
you have stakeholders who have or who require certain information about SEO in order to make a decision that will affect SEO?
Absolutely. One of the interesting things about being in local SEO is that you work with businesses, owners, and stakeholders with varying knowledge of what you do and why you do it.
Mm,
Because, like, I work with franchises, so you can work with the internal marketing department for the franchise who understands what you do because they're the ones that reached out and wanted to hire you to help them.
yeah.
But then if you talk to an individual franchisee, they have no idea what you do because they bought a franchise and they expect their partners to handle all of their marketing for them. They're just worried about the day-to-day operations of their business. So
Yeah.
like there are, I run into that a lot, having to speak to the level of understanding that that person is at for SEO.
Mm,
And really, the thing that is most impactful, and it's something that is great for local SEO, and it's one of, I think, our strengths in communicating with clients is having them search for their main service in their city on their phone and see that they don't show up.
yeah.
And that is like, that ends any argument because they're like, I'm just trying to make you show up here. Like, that's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Like, and that, like, that solves a lot of problems because that is one of the, going back to local SEO being real, like you can see that impact so quickly,
Yeah.
or that lack of impact so quickly. And then, but the downside is that person now, like every month, is searching for that one keyword on their
Yeah.
phone over and over again, and they're like, "Why am I not here yet?" But it's very impactful for showing them, especially if you can do things like benchmark. Like if you say, hey, I keep telling you that you need more reviews and you don't seem to see how this is important. These are people that keep ranking on the first page in the local pack. This
Mm,
is how many reviews they have and this is their average rating. Do you see
mm,
why you need to
mm,
catch up now? Like there are
mhm.
so many different data points that you can show them, related to their business when it comes to local SEO, that, and it's like all types of local SEO is competitive, but local SEO I think is like, it's kind of a different animal because a
Yeah.
lot of the time they know the other people that own the other local
Hmm.
businesses, and they
Yeah.
have opinions and feelings about
Hmm.
those people. And they'll sometimes they'll say, I want to beat this specific guy, and that is a good person to show them, like, this is what this guy is doing. You don't want to focus on that, but this
Mm,
is what your competitor that you're so concerned about, this is how they're succeeding. Competitive analysis is extremely powerful for local SEO because we can, find out so much about their strategy by just looking at their website, and looking at their Google business profiles and determine even if they have someone working on their SEO. That's actually one of my favorite things to do, is to determine if they actually hired an SEO or not. Like looking at a competitor site is like, no one's working on this one. We can overtake them, or huh, they got someone that knows what they're doing. Like they're working really hard to catch up, or they're working really hard to keep their position. But yeah, it's hard to do sometimes, but I feel like the I find that the easiest way to get buy-in is just to show them where they're not. Like, this
mm,
is where you want to be and this is where we can't find you yet. This is using the good old click-through rate for the first page of search results to show them like who gets clicks. Like
yeah.
if you're not there, you're not getting the clicks. If you're not getting the clicks, you're not getting the traffic. If you're not getting the traffic, you're not getting the leads. And just tying it all together for them. One of the things I noticed too is it's better not to be too technical. It's not necessary to get into weeds of what you're doing and why you're doing it for people who um, are where for them the bottomless line is I need to make more money, and that
Mm,
is it. Like I need more leads, I need more qualified leads, and I need to make more money, and that is all that they. If you can tie what you're doing back to that, you don't need to go into all this other details. They're not
mm,
interested in you showing them how much you know about SEO. They hired you because they know you already know more than they do about it.
yeah.
They just need you to tie what you're doing back to what they care about the most, which is
Mm,
how is this going to impact my bottom line, and am I making more money from doing this than I'm losing by having you spend time on this,
mm,
or what's the opportunity cost if we don't do this? I think a lot of SEOs, especially in the local SEO space, could benefit from thinking about things from a cost benefit perspective, and thinking about it from a business case perspective with clients, because that's how our customers think about it. They think about
mm.
it from a business case perspective, and am I going to see the return I need to justify doing this? And if you can't show them that, you can say like all the good things about that recommendation you want in the world, but if they don't see how it's going to impact them making more money, then it's likely not going to get buy-in.
Yeah. I find that SEOs who work agency side and uh, carry out local SEO for their clients, and SEOs who work client side, they have a lot in common in terms of they very much have to focus on what you just mentioned, the cost analysis of what they're doing. So if you mention core
Hmm.
web vitals to a client, yes, that's important, but you still have to relate that to how that will affect the client's revenue. And that's the same with SEO's client side. Everything they do has to be related to how is this impacting the business. And usually
Right.
that all comes down to revenue.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually, you mentioned Core Web Vitals, actually wrote a post for a case study for Moz on Core Web Vitals and how one of our franchise clients had a 55% increase in revenue just from improving Core Web Vital
Mm,
metrics. And that's organic revenue. So, yeah, we definitely do that. There are times where we as an agency, we buck up against what is considered industry standards because sure, their rankings
yeah,
dropped for this one thing, but they got more calls for this thing that they actually want
yeah.
more leads from. So,
Hmm.
like, should my client make less money because that's not what's popular? Like, no. So we often test things. We often kind of go against and find out for ourselves what is actually going to impact what our clients really care about, which is not necessarily ranking number one for every relevant keyword. It's getting more leads and
Hmm.
what's going to get them the most leads with the least amount of effort and impact their bottom line the most. So
Mm.
that's what we care about the most as well.
I find that some clients, when you show them reports, they very much focus on rankings, right? They want to see what their keywords are ranking for. And what you just
Mm-hmm.
mentioned right there is very interesting because someone could be ranking number three, right? But performing from a revenue point of view better than if they were ranking number one. It depends on several situations, right? Several elements.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that you have clients very much focused on the vanity of rankings rather than revenue, or is it the opposite?
I've had it both
Both.
ways. Like I have
Right.
clients that are like very much bottom line is all that matters to me. Do whatever you need to do otherwise. We have clients that are like, we're ranking pretty well, but we're not happy with our lead volume. Can we test some things, even if
Mm,
it means that we might lose some rankings to see if we can improve our conversions?
yeah.
So like but I also have clients who have been focused on rankings primarily more than anything. But what solves that is that like very early on when we're just having conversations before they come on as a client, at Rickety we talk about like our goal is to get you more leads. Like that's what we're going to report on
Mm.
primarily. We see rankings as indicators of what might be going on with your site, but there are other factors too, as like what your competitors are doing,
Yeah.
algorithm updates, all kinds of other things that are impacting things too outside of our control. But we see that as an indicator of what direction your site is moving in as far as visibility. But our our goal is to focus on leads first. And that's, I think, very common maybe in the local SEO space, because that is most of the businesses in the local SEO who need local SEO have very clear goals, and they're typically tied to leads. I worked on other sites before that were blogs and things like that, and their goal was just to get traffic, because traffic meant more visibility for ads on their site, and that's how they were making their money. So any traffic was good for those sites. But for local SEO, a lot of it is very intentional, very specific, to the point that I had clients where I've listened to their phone calls before to qualify leads to see if it's an actual good lead or not. So my experience, at least for local SEO, is that most clients are more concerned about getting qualified leads than anything else. We have some clients where we don't report on calls that are under 2 minutes long and things like that. So we're getting like as specific as we can so that we can say these are how many like potentially good leads you got this month, not just any call you got whatsoever. So things like that. So not a lot of them that are just like vanity focused. When I used to work with lawyers, I did get more of the vanity focused stuff, because just to make sure their business. But like with that, it's kind of just I focus on education. Like if they were asking me about a vanity keyword, but they had 20% increase in phone calls, I'm like, I would tell them I don't care about their keywords. Like, you're making more money. That's my job. Like, my job is to, like, what are you hiring us to do? You want more leads from organic. That's what I'm going to focus on. If there's some things that I can do that do not deter from us meeting our goals to help you with vanity keywords, then sure, we'll spend time on it. But reminding them, kind of making sure that we keep the true goal in focus for that client, for their sake, because it is easy to start focusing too much on keywords. It's easy for us to do as SEO, so it's definitely easy to do as the business owner. Like I've have test sites that I put up and stuff like that before, and I've gotten too hung up over keywords. So like it's very easy to do, and it's very easy to lose sight of what's important, especially for businesses that are focused on conversions. But I think it's our job as SEOs is to bring things back into focus, and what's important back into focus, not just let clients get off the rails and start thinking about things that aren't truly going to be impactful for their business, but to use the data to tell them where they need to be focused. And I've been fortunate enough to work at a lot of agencies, and work with a lot of agencies where data has always been the driving force for recommendations for what we do, why we do it, how we explain things to clients. And if you focus on what the data tells you is what's best to do, then there's not a lot of room for argument, because numbers can lie, but they're more accurate than how someone feels about something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now let's move into AI and local SEO. Are you anticipating AI affecting local SEO?
Not anytime soon. I think it eventually can. But like I'm not really that into sci-fi, so I can't foresee like just for me and to me, local SEO is so practical because of the real world implications of anything that you do that I don't see AI having a huge influence in some ways. In other ways, I think a lot of AI content is it's already all over the place for local SEO because of some of the issues that often come with creating unique content. Because if you want to rank in 20 different cities and you're a veterinarian, there is how many different ways can you talk about giving puppies vaccines? There's not really that many ways you can do that, but you need 20 pages for it. That can be hard to do, to have a person to do. So I think there's some use cases for SEO as a tool to help further along the processes to help give ideas to help with troubleshooting. It can be useful. Some of the tools out there now can be useful for things like structured data, creating structured data,
Right. Yeah.
creating simple scripts in Python for making things a little bit easier. Especially if you want to crawl a bunch of sites and get a bunch of, or crawl search results and get a bunch of stuff from Google My Business profiles and stuff like that. So I think like with analysis, with ideas, coming up with ideas, AI right now can be useful for local SEO. I have no idea kind of like what the future of AI will be for local. I just can't imagine how it could be insanely useful. I can see augmented reality and things like that being interesting for local SEO. Kind of like putting on glasses and being able to try on different types of pairs of shoes, and then being able to tell where you can buy it locally and things like that. But AI specifically, I don't know. My mind, I'm not creative enough to come up with any ideas for that.
I'm thinking of AI, using AI bots like ChatGPT to create content, and I'm thinking it from a client or brand point of view, and I can see the temptation for brands to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, let's just go ahead and use this AI bot to recreate this content that we have on this page and put it on five
Mm-hmm.
other pages to target these markets
Mm-hmm.
or these cities. And I'm seeing, well, I can envision a number of issues that could crop up around all of that. And I almost want to warn clients against using something like that. But then I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's gonna be good for our business. So in some ways, I'm quite tempted to just let clients do what they feel is right and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I see that being an issue too, just because there's no fact checking for these AI tools right now. So they're
Yeah.
just spitting out whatever they want, and they're reusing other people's content as well. So it's
Mm,
not like you're getting unique content that is factually accurate to use anyway. It's just
exactly.
giving you it's not reliable. So it's not something that I would recommend using for writing content or anything like that. My recommendation always to businesses, especially when they're struggling to have unique content for similar pages, is to find data sets that you can pull from that
Mm,
has like geographical data that might be interesting to add to those pages.
yeah.
Talk to people who work at those locations or something and get interesting information or interesting takes. Talk to managers, store managers, interview the store manager or something like that to get more
Mm,
information or get things from them. Talk to customer success about frequently asked questions at that location or frequent issues customers have and add that to those pages. So
mm,
getting creative, implementing customer reviews on the page itself. So you have unique content from your own customers that they're providing for you and you don't even have to
mm,
write. Like there's a lot of different things that you can do. If someone's looking for an example, I think Orkin does a pretty good job at that. They're a pest control company and what they do, and these pages aren't even completely unique. But for every service area, they put up like common pests in your area and it links to their page about that common type of pest. So they're creating somewhat unique content for every city by
mm,
just talking about the different types of pests that you're likely to have because of the area you live in. And they
mm.
already have that information. If your
Yeah.
client is a plumber and they serve all of DC, they know what common issues they get called about by zip code. They have that information. You can
Yeah.
say common plumbing issues in your area. You have the data already to
Mm,
make content that's more unique. It's just a matter of putting it together and deciding to use it versus putting like it in Chat GPT and hoping that you get a quality answer out of it when you're not.
mm,
Um, but I think I think businesses have to start thinking about using their own data in ways that are more creative, and that makes it harder too for Google just to replace your
yeah.
listing as well and put something else up there. Because
Yeah.
if you're the only one who holds its first party data, Google does not have that data.
Mm,
You have it, and if it's on your page, it's the only page it exists on until someone else steals it for some other page. But at the very least, you're the only one that has originally provided that content, and it can't be easily sourced from some other thing because you use your first party data to create that content. Yeah. I think that's a really smart way for enterprise and franchise businesses to start thinking, to help set themselves apart, provide unique content, and potentially even get backlinks to their location pages. If you can build a location landing page that's so interesting that people actually want to link to it, that's like insane. That would be so powerful and so hard to replicate and compete with for anyone. So that's like the way that I encourage businesses to think. And like, instead of trying to find uses for the shiny new toy that is AI, use the toys you already have, which is your data and analytics tools that you already have available to you that can give you all kinds of different metrics and new ways of thinking about the data that you already have.
Yeah. It's interesting that clients have all this information, data, and they just need SEOs, or usually SEOs, just to point them and tweak them in the right way in order to use what they already have. And I'm finding that a number of brands are starting to do this. Especially, I'm seeing this actually, interestingly enough, in the law sector. So a lot of lawyers now are providing the information they know and using events as a way to drive traffic to their websites and or YouTube. And I envision something like this increasing across different verticals in the coming few years, I think. Be interesting.
Yeah, that is definitely a space to watch. Yeah, like if you want to look to what's ahead, look at what like the most competitive industries are doing in the most competitive cities and and different countries, and that is where things are going. Like that's where your industry is going to end up being. But yeah, that's a really good one. Lawyers, especially, because they have big budgets for SEO. Yeah. So they're a good space to watch because their SEOs have to be actively thinking about how to one up the next guy because they're getting pressure to do it. They have the budgets to do it. And then their competitors are also doing SEO. It's not a situation where everyone, like most of your competitors are sleeping and you're the only one doing it, which can happen in some areas and some industries still. But legal, especially like personal injury, is so highly competitive that it's extremely like it is an ideal place to look to get ideas, especially if you're a service-based business or you work in service-based local SEO. It's a great place to get some ideas as to what people are doing that's actually successful, and things that you can try out yourself.
Absolutely. Now, moving on to SEO community. What would you say frustrates clients about the SEO industry?
Am I allowed to curse on this podcast?
Go for it. Yes, you can. Go for it.
SEOs that are full of shit. That is what that pisses people off the most. Over-promising, under-delivering. I think that's having lots of ideas but no plans for implementation. Those are the two things that I hear complaints about the most. I actually reached out to some in-house marketing teams and asked them, like, with your agency partners or SEO agency partners or consultants, what are the most frustrating things for you? Like, I just straight up asked them that. And I got some answers, and it was like repetitiveness and recommendations. So not recommending anything new, being afraid to try new things, being afraid to provide unique recommendations, kind of being cookie cutter. And the other one is just like over promising and under delivering and what they can do. I've been very fortunate where I have not worked at many places that had issues with over-promising and under-delivering or anything like that. But I see it happen a lot. And a lot of the times I think it's because the sales team for an SEO agency is not necessarily a person doing SEO. their objective and goals are very different from the person who's going
Mm-hmm.
to be handling your account.
Yeah.
And that's likely where a lot of that stems from. But the uniqueness and creativity in recommendations, I think that's something that we're missing really as an industry. And it's very easy for us to rely on each other too
Mm.
much for answers. And then all end up giving our clients very similar things.
Yeah.
But in reality, if we're wondering what's next in SEOs, that's for us to determine and that's for us to decide and figure out. It's not going
Mm.
to just come out of nowhere. We're the ones that are supposed to be figuring out what's working. And that means that we need to test and verify and confirm for ourselves and not just depend on talking heads to tell us what's best to do for a client. It does mean taking risks sometimes and figuring out which clients are the ones that are okay to take those risks at and which ones are going to be annoyed if they don't get amazing results from something that you told them that might not give them anything at all.
Mm.
But the only way to find out is by actually doing. And I think we need to get back to doing more doing and focusing more on testing and figuring out things, what's actually going to work for our clients based on what their goals are, instead of kind of just I guess going through the motions and collecting
Best
checks.
practices stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Definitely. Um, what would you say you're looking forward to this year?
Oh, well, in April, I'm speaking at Brighton SEO. It's going to be my first time in London, so excited about that. I'm bringing my son and my husband with me, so it's going to be a fun trip.
Awesome.
I'm also speaking at MozCon in, I think, August, so I'm excited for both of those things. Very excited just to be working on new projects with my clients too.
Mm.
So like my role is director of digital strategy. So I work in a client-facing role and I also do implementation. And I love that I get to do both sides of it and stay involved, actively involved in SEO for my clients and helping members of the team and training people and creating processes for SEO for different SEO tactics and all those types of things.
Mm.
So I'm just looking forward to doing more work because to me the work is fun. Like it's so much more fun. I
Mm.
like doing the public speaking and stuff too, but I really love just actually going in there and making the recommendations and finding the issues and doing all of that too, having the conversations with the clients. So I'm just looking forward to the year, I guess, in general for SEO, but definitely excited to be going to London and experiencing that and speaking at Brighton.
Awesome. Hopefully, it's the weather will be great for you. April usually is quite good.
Good. I've never been before. I'm very excited.
In terms of what clients can look forward to for SEO, what would you say they should be aware of, let's say in the coming year or two, just generally?
Yeah. I would say be aware of what's happening in your actual local economy and your industry.
Mm.
Just because things, especially in the US, are um, not great right now economically, and that can impact how people like the behavior of consumers. And that will impact your SEO because if there are less people searching, there are less people who are buying.
Mm.
And if there's less people who are buying, no matter how great the SEO being done on your site is, then unfortunately we can't create customers where there are not any.
Yeah.
So being aware of that being a factor for the year. I've heard a lot of SEOs say that their goal is to keep their customers flat this year, like not gain anything, but also not lose anything.
Mm.
And depending on your industry, that might be the best way to think about it. But what I would expect them to expect from their SEO agency or consultant is just complete transparency about what's happening, what
Mm.
work is being done, what they can expect to see from that work, and if there are any and if they do claim that there are some, I don't know, issues outside of their control that is impacting your results, having them show that to you. Like
Mm.
if I tell my client that I think there it may be like a nationwide issue, there's a nationwide decline, or there's a declining trend in searches for their services or products, I will look in Google Trends and determine if that's true or not. I won't just
Mm,
say it and hope that it's true so they won't be angry that their numbers are down compared to last year. I want to find evidence that makes sense. I want to find evidence, and if I
mm,
find something to the contrary, I need to figure out what's going on and present that to the client. So transparency, I think, is what clients should expect. Even if it's something that you don't want to hear, expect your SEO to be honest with you. I think
mm.
SEOs need to do better about that too. I'm not afraid of my clients, and you shouldn't be afraid of your clients. If you need to tell them something that's hard to tell them, uh, that's still the right thing to do. Especially if you're doing everything you can, you shouldn't be afraid to speak to your clients about
Mm,
what you're finding, even if it's not ideal. Because that's the cost of doing business, and your clients know that everything's not
yes.
going to be rainbows and butterflies and sunshine. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. If you're not getting transparency and honesty from your SEO, or you feel like you have no idea what's going on, it's probably time to start looking for someone else.
Absolutely, absolutely. Amanda, thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Amanda T. Jordan. And I work for Rickety Roo. We're at ricketyroo.com. We're a great agency. And we're actual. I'm not going to say anything else. I don't know if I have permission to say anything else right now. But look out for us. We're doing interesting things. We'll be interesting places. And yeah, I'm really excited for the new year. Feel free to reach out to me about anything. I love, like, if people reach out to me asking me for SEO advice, I will give it to you. So I'm not someone who's too busy for anyone. So I'd be happy if anyone wants to reach out and talk SEO.
Brilliant. I'll have those links in the description. Amanda, thank you so much for your time. Have a brilliant day and weekend, and we'll catch up again soon.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Cheers.